What is up, guys? Welcome to a new video. So a few days ago we talked about fervor and why that's better, but also how it makes laning a bit harder now. This is a way to get an easy lane but still actually more damage than warlords, so you really shouldn't be losing your lane anymore. The first thing is, this is actually my theory that I've been testing. I haven't really seen this anywhere else at the moment. I've asked a lot of master and high diamond AD carrier players that I know what they think actually, and I've also looked into this a lot. Now in theory this is actually good and it's very strong, but definitely let me know what you think in the comments. Now also, I've actually teamed up with a friend of mine who has the site Widow Flare to give away $25 of RP in this video. They have developers who want their mobile games tested basically. You download one, you see what you think, you let them know, and you earn RP cards for yourselves. It's 100% legit. They just want some feedback to make better games. So if you have some time to test stuff, then you can earn a few skins in your spare time or queues and champion select. Just don't forget to ban and dodge. There is a link down below to go and see what it's about. Leave a comment for the RP though and like the video if you do. Now I'm not saying this is the most damage possible, but what I am saying is this will give you a much easier lane phase and help you to stop losing lane as much. It's really good for hard lanes or if you struggle early. High elo AD carries probably will not need to do this if they trade correctly all of the time, but others I think might want to. This is more damage and more healing than running warlords now. The best thing about warlords really was a free lane, right? Like if you're at 20% health, you'd gain 3.5% lifesteal. Only 3.5%, but it's enough to heal back up and never really have to base. Remember, you get 25% of the lifesteal at 4 minions, so you'd sit under tower, you'd heal back up, and it's easy. That playstyle was also super good against death by touch or fervor. They are more all in, but if you survive and you don't die, then you heal back up afterwards. You will get more health and control. They can't match that healing at all, so even if they trade better than you and do more damage, you would still win the lane overall. The problem with fervor now is that while it's much better, if you mess up a trade in lane, you really have to base or you're stuck on low health. You're losing farm and you're losing trades until you do. Now this is aimed at fixing that. A lot of people don't start Dorans now anyway, so longsword and 3 potions. Those 3 potions instead of 1 from Dorans is already making your life easier, and it's also more AD. Normally you don't want to do this on people like Caitlyn and Jinx and Twitch and stuff because longswords don't fit into your core build of Infinity Edge and Runins except later. Now what about actually if we turn that longsword though into a Vamp Scepter in the lane phase? Now either you get a BF sword first, a few potions, then upgrade to a Vamp Scepter next time you base, or you get a pickaxe, Vamp Scepter, which is basically the same gold and 5 AD less. You can even get a longsword and Vamp upgrade or whatever if you're building Essence Reaver or something like that. Think of it like this: if you still want lifesteal for an easier lane, would you rather have 5 more AD with BF sword and less lifesteal with warlords, or you could have 5 AD less with pickaxe and Vamp Scepter but 25 AD more from fervor at just level 6 and triple the lifesteal with Vamp Scepter? Hopefully you can see that that is why I say in theory this is so much better. Now yes, it does actually delay your first item by 550 gold, but it does give you 10% lifesteal to survive the lane phase with the extra farm you're going to get from not getting forced away or just 1 kill or not dying from the lifesteal will basically pay for this itself anyway. Warlords gives just over 3% maximum lifesteal on the minions, right? Vamp Scepter is 10% the entire time. It is actually a lot of healing. The reason you wouldn't do this before is because you'd lose too much by delaying your first item, but it's not as bad now. Fervor makes up for the damage lost and the Vamp is giving us the healing as well. So overall, if you're doing this, you're actually doing more damage and more healing than if you run Warlords. Now, if you're against people who are using Warlords as well, you're actually going to have an absolute field day with this. Number one, you have more damage than them in trades with Fervor, like 30 plus more AD, even in the lane phase. You actually have more lifesteal than them as well. Maybe not in an all-in fight, you might have a few percent less, which is not a major deal anyway, but definitely more afterwards on minions. Now, it isn't going to be as much damage as Dorans plus Fervor plus BF Sword and Runes and stuff. That is why high elo players might not do this. It is though 550 gold to gain 10% lifesteal and have a much better lane phase. You are paying that 550 to not lose your lane, to have much easier lane, and that is basically the idea. Actually as well though, while it delays the first item, it saves you 350 mid game. When you're running Fervor, you have no lifesteal in the mid game. Vamp Scepter is more needed, I think, so you would be spending 900 gold to get that after your first couple of items. Because we didn't buy Adorans with this, we've used 350, the longsword, of our starting money to put towards our mid game build. Basically, Infinity Edge, Runins, and Vamp Scepter is 7,100 gold. Now with Adorans, you would have to earn 7,100 gold to purchase those items. With this start, a longsword, you would have to earn 6,750 gold because we used 350 of our starting money. The whole reason I'm really doing this video though is because at lower ranks, you're actually harder to beat in lane even though you delay your first item. It sounds actually kind of weird, but people won't be used to playing against this right now. The lifesteal can catch them off in a fight, but also in how they trade in lane. They're going to fight you, they might win the trade, but then you're going to heal it back up afterwards, whereas they won't. That means that even if they're stronger than you, like champ wise, or if they're winning the trades, they can't really force you out of lane and punish you. If they try to trade with you over and over again, you keep hitting it back up, they're actually going to end up losing the lane themselves, ironically. So that is is the theory. You start with longsword, and then at some point in the lane, you upgrade that to vamp and get a bunch of lifesteal and sustain the lane. We're going to go over the good points of this, why you would do it. So very hard to lose your lane with this start. You get spanked, you run back, you heal up on minions, and that is a playstyle you want to abuse. 3 potions to start the game. Yes, you get less health and endurance, but way more forgiving if you mess up a fight, as long as you don't die. You get 10% lifesteal on the minions instead of 3% or less we'd get with the warlords, and you would have more damage now than warlords as well, because we're running further. You only delay your build by 550 since we don't buy endurance, and the first item spikes are valuable, but if you're getting spanked, you'd be missing more than 550 gold worth of CS anyway. Why I'm saying this right now is specifically because vamp is much more useful and vital mid game, with fervor being buffed and what we're actually going to take most of the time. You'll likely pick one up after 2 items, and as we said, you'd be saving 350 gold eventually. You're harder to beat in the lane phase because you can recover really well, plus if you do get runes first, actually you gain lifesteal from all 3 of those bolts that you hit, and it will really help in early fights. 18-0-12 is also very common now, which either gives us an extra 50 health to compensate for the Doran's health we lost, or 8% better lifesteal, which is great with our vamp scepter. I know vamp has always been seen as a waste of money, but actually if we do it like this with fervor, then it's not that bad at all. The worst thing is the delay in the first item, and it is less damage than Doran's, fervor, and your first item together. Even that argument though is not really the best. If you take any damage in an early skirmish, you'll be stuck at that low health with no lifesteal. If you buy a vamp scepter, then you can heal back up and stay in the fight for longer, so actually you might be outputting more damage overall because you can auto for longer. Now you could also use a lifesteal quint for the middle ground. I wouldn't use more than one though, because you probably lose a lot of AD, plus lifesteal quints are like 2000 IP each. No thank you. Also, it only gives 1.5%, so it's not amazing. To sum this entire video up, I am not trying to say it's the best damage output you can actually have, but fervor plus vamp scepter is more damage and more healing than warlords overall, and especially more than what you were getting last patch. It is still better than getting warlords and your first item, but it's also good for people who have weak laning phases or just weaker lane champions. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I put a lot of time and thought into this video actually to try and make it as good as possible and as helpful as possible. I think it's really going to help, especially if your lane phase is not the strongest. I do want to know what you think about it though, so let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching the video, but for now, let's go to the robots.